Hello, good evening, and welcome along to the Volkswagen ID.R Challenge final, presented to you by RaceRoom. Welcome to what is sure to be a couple of hours of excellent racing and excellent hot lapping in one of the hottest electric vehicles of the modern age. And where is our stage going to be held in our lovely virtual world of sim racing? Well, it's going to be here at the Nordschleife. First of all, on the actual Nordschleife itself, 20 kilometers of pure racing, heaven or hell, depends on which way you want to view it. But then we're also going to be heading over to the GP circuit of the Nürburgring. It's a wonderful time in waiting. I can't wait to get started. I'm James Kirk, and joining me, as he so often does nowadays, is the lovely Mr. Robert Wiesenmüller. Rob, welcome. Fill myself and the viewers in on what exactly is going on here and what we're going to be seeing today.
Hello James, hello everyone. Yes indeed, it's the final day, final of the Volkswagen ID.R Challenge here on RaceRoom Racing Experience. If you're new to the topic of sim racing, of course, if you're watching on the Facebook page of Volkswagen Motorsport, this is a virtual racing event. These drivers are sitting behind the computer. They're doing something very similar to the real drivers like Romain Dumas. They're driving an electric vehicle, a complete simulation of this electric vehicle, extremely fast over the Nordschleife here. And we've got a very interesting format coming up today. We've got 10 drivers racing here, and not only just 10 drivers. These 10 drivers were the fastest 10 out of 11,128 drivers who attempted to qualify for this event.
I'm trying to work out my maths here. It's the top 0.01% of all people who tried their hand at qualifying into this final ended up here.
Yes, and they end up with a very exciting schedule indeed.
Yes.
We've got 3 stages here. The first stage is a hot lap session on the Nordschleife, so it's not a race, just one lap counts. Every driver has a single lap. They will start one after another. The 10th fastest will start, and the fastest one from the pre-qualifying, Julian Kunze, will be the last one to set the lap. And then afterwards, we've got 2 races coming up on the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. Sprint race 10 minutes, and then a reverse grid sprint race with the top 5 reversed coming up afterwards. And in each of these stages, the winner gets 10 points, second place gets 6 points, third place 4, and then 3, 2, and 1. So the top 6 score points. 30 points maximum on offer. Should be pretty easy to determine the champion. And if there's a tie, it's decided by the performance in stage 1 by the hot lap.
And what are these drivers fighting for, Rob? What prizes do we have on offer for the top 3?
Yeah, we've got some very exciting prizes on offer indeed. Just look at this overview here. First place driver gets an R experience ice in Sweden. If you don't know what that means, basically means you fly to Sweden, there's a lot of snow, there's a lot of ice, there's a lot of Volkswagen as well. You get to drive one and you can slide, you can drift, you get some professional training. It's gonna be an awesome experience for these people who, you know, are aspiring racing drivers in some cases, are experienced sim racers. None of them, you know, some of them not so experienced maybe even in the simulation, but tried extremely hard just to get here into this event, just to qualify. And yeah, P1 gets this ice experience, sport experience for the second place, and the safety experience for the third place. So a lot of interesting things are on offer here. The Nordschleife.
It's a super unique prize structure, and I'm sure it's going to be great fun for the top 3, of course. For me personally, drifting around in a Volkswagen in icy conditions sounds both terrifying but also exciting at the same time, and I'm sure that excitement is going to be building throughout today as, well, one of these drivers is going to edge closer and closer to that top billing. Speaking of the drivers, maybe we should take a little look at the entry list, Rob. A lot of drivers here that, for those of you who watch RaceRoom Racing Experience events over the course of the year, you might recognize. Some who you might not recognize, but certainly those top 2 from pre-qualifying, Rob, we know all about them. Julian Kunze, Florian Hasse, both champions in other racing series. There's also the likes of Jaroslav Honzik, who's a pretty popular sim racing YouTuber, great guy to know. But there are also some pretty surprising names in here, no less the likes of Guillaume Theo, who we've seen as a pretty good driver, especially throughout 2019. He's put in some decent performances here and there, but to pre-qualify 3rd ahead of some big names is a big statement coming out from him. I'm excited to see what he does over the 3 sections of today.
Yes, and we've also got a really exciting mix of people who have experience in real-life motorsports and people who are coming exclusively from the gaming side. So, for example, Mark Gassner in P8. He won GT Academy. He drove on the Nordschleife. He got class victories in the VLN. So he's extremely experienced on this track in real life. Daniel Fredriksson is another one who's got a lot of racing experience in Sweden. And then you've got the guys like Kunze, like Hasse, like Theo as well, or Honsik, who come from the sim racing world. Actually, Honsik also has a bit of real life racing experience under his belt. So you've got some young talents like Alexander Shomoshi, the driver, who was P5 in the pre-qualifying, Hungarian driver living in Germany, pretty close to the Volkswagen headquarters. And he's actually a motorcycle racer in real life. That's cool to see him here. And then also the experienced guys like Georgios Sanitos, for example, the Greek, who was P7.
Of course, down there in P10, you have Luke Mullenberger, who this is his biggest time in the spotlight, most certainly at the ripe old age of 41, Rob. He comes into this very much as the underdog, and he's going to be put front and center once we head into that first section, the first man to go out there and set a hot lap on the Nordschleife. And of course, this car, the Volkswagen ID.R, is in particular, and with this livery actually, is very special indeed. It holds the electric car lap record of the Nordschleife under the tutelage of the previously mentioned Dumas. I honestly adore the look of this car. I absolutely love it. It's sleek. I think it's super, super sexy. And most importantly, I guess for us racing fans, Rob, is that it goes like a lightning bolt. Just over 6 minutes to complete a lap of the Nordschleife in this machine. Although I think today we might very well see that particular record broken for some very, very talented guys in and amongst this field. But ultimately, what we want is good racing, and I think this car is going to produce that.
Yes, indeed. We will see how the drivers will deal with the pressure just having one lap in the pre-qualifying. Currently in the practice session, 6 minutes 05 is the fastest time. So we're very close to the real lap times from Romain Dumas. Maybe a little explanation for those who participated in the Hotlap Challenge. We will run with the default setup for this competition. So the car handles pretty much exactly as Dumas described. Also, of course, going along with the data that we received from Volkswagen to replicate this car in the virtual version on RaceRoom Racing Experience.
Just under 1,100 kilograms, 0 to 60 in about 2.25 seconds. I'm expecting good things from these drivers. And actually, to be fair, Rob, it's a car that I think that we're sort of losing this misconception that electric cars are purely for a safety reasoning. You can get some rapid pace and some pretty unstable speeds out of these cars. So you can see the massive rear spoiler on the car, absolutely necessary around this track to keep it planted to the floor. We've seen a couple of drivers in this practice session actually snapping and falling off the track. They'll be hoping that that doesn't happen. I'm sure they might be a little bit more conservative once we head into the hot lap session, because as you say, just there, for example, going a little bit wide. Do that in qualifying and you're more than likely going to be starting probably 6th or lower.
Yes, and we're just about to go into qualifying session, so let's maybe have a short look at Romain Dumas, what he has to say about the virtual version of this car.
Inside the car, you have the feeling you are in the same cockpit. The noise is the same, the feeling is the same. For sure, the biggest difference, you are not scared to crash. Now it's your turn.
So here we are then, stage 1 of our ID.R Volkswagen Challenge final. And just to, if you're just joining us, to go over the format once again, what we have here is Superpole. Each driver from 10th in pre-qualifying up to 1st in qualifying will set one lap, one after the other. It's one chance. And if you mess up that chance, then you're more than likely going to be scrubbing off any points that you might be able to secure from this session. The top 6 scoring points, remember, in each stage. And so if you are in the top 6, then you're at least going to be putting yourself on the board. For the likes of Luke here, if you are able to get into the top 6, that's a bit of an overperformance since this is purely about pace. There is no racing to be had, it's just you and the Nordschleife ahead.
Yes, and he's already on his lap, so let's go on board with him here. Wasting no time at all. Mullenberger from Luxembourg, of course. Very international field here, very exotic countries as well. As he's coming up here, and you can see this is absolutely flat. You do not even have to think about it here. It's just absolutely flat through the Flugblatt section, and that's insane. This car doesn't have the highest top speed, but the acceleration and the downforce are absolutely crazy. They're absolutely insane. Schwedenkreuz, you do not even think about going onto the brakes. Just absolutely flat. Hard braking here into Arenberg. Got a bit of understeer here. It looks pretty decent. Had a couple of mistakes already in the beginning of the lap that we could see, especially in the first corner, but so far it's looking quite good.
It's almost mesmerizing, isn't it?
Yeah. 1 minute 15.6 in the first sector. We can remember this, of course. Look how fast he goes here.
Ooh, bit deep
Ooh,
there.
bit of a
Ooh,
moment.
Saves it just about, but those are the small mistakes which are going to be the margins between points and no points.
But he's pushing hard. He's not holding back here. Absolutely flat once again.
Heading downhill, I tell you what, this is a... You'll know, Rob, this is a stark difference from... I mean, we've seen touring cars driving here earlier in the year. It's almost terrifying how fast we're able to move down this downhill circuit, or part of the circuit rather. Almost like it's on rails at times.
I made a small mistake here, clipped the curb, and then he had to slow down. This is one of the most tricky sections. See how close he runs up to the wall. Oh, it's the curb on the inside again, but looked pretty decent.
Bit deep there. I think he's looking for a clean lap more than anything, though, Rob. He's already made one major mistake, 2 minor mistakes here and there.
See here at Bergwerk. Oh, bit of a moment once again. Oh, that could be it already. That was quite a big mistake by Mullenberger here.
I'll go as far as saying that's probably it. You need, at the very least, to stay on the tarmac for the entirety of the lap if you want to make sure that you get yourself inside the top 6. And for poor old Luke Mullenberger here, first time in the spotlight, first time in on the big stage really in his sim racing career. And there will be time yet in the 2 races coming up to pick up some good points, but I think his challenge in the hot lap stage is well and truly over.
Let's see, but maybe the other drivers make mistakes as well. Remember, everyone has only 1 lap, so if something goes wrong at your attempt, you can't just try again. Let's see how he drives the carousel. He drives it on the inside, has to correct the steering, has to correct it again. Really decent.
And honestly, the carousel, I think, in this particular car is going to be quite a weird experience, isn't it? Since a lot of the cars have a bit more of a higher distance from the ground to be able to traverse it. It's quite a rocky part of track, then you don't necessarily realise it until you go over it in a car of this ilk, where it's riding so close to the ground with such incredible downforce from the spoiler. It's a rough ride, and certainly you can see the curbs launching the car left and right.
And he's taking a lot of curb. I'm a bit surprised that he's taking so much curb. He can steer the car very accurately. Has a bit of understeer on the default setup, but it's easy to navigate it, I would say. And of course you do not have to shift. So you can focus purely on the driving. And it's such a crazy experience to drive the Nordschleife at this pace, even if it's in a simulation. Can't imagine how it must have felt for Romain Dumas. Of course, Luke Mullenberger putting a bit of a reference here for us as well. We can see what kind of speeds we can expect from the other drivers. 48.6 in the middle sector.
And this final sector really all about just completing, putting the lap together.
Ooh, second carousel, very wide.
Oh. He just about wraps it up though, doesn't he?
Gets into Döttinger Höhe.
Very much you're going as fast as you ever are on this circuit, down this straight, Rob, but it's almost like a reprieve after what you've just gone through.
Well, especially in this car, it's interesting because it's capped at 250 kilometers per hour. So you accelerate super fast in this car. It's insane because you do not have to upshift. Pretty much just go straight with the electric engine. And then you reach 250 and you reach it very early, like exactly when you're out of the corner pretty much. And you just go at this speed. So you can relax a little bit, but you have to watch out, especially in the final corner, because you can get track limits so easily here.
Oh, he absolutely nails that little chicane. And Luke Mullenberger just going to take our final right now to cross the line. And what do we have on the board? That is
609.3. That's not too bad.
609.3. That's. I tell you what, considering the scale of the accidents or the mistakes that he had, that really isn't bad. That's really not bad at all. Remember the actual record set by Dumas at 6:05.336. So only 4 seconds off. Pretty impressive stuff there from Mullenberger, despite the mistakes. And now it's down to Danny Fredriksson, the man who pre-qualified P9 for this event. He has got plenty of experience behind him. I'd suggest a lot more than Mullenberger, certainly. And he'll be looking to, I would imagine, try and get at least a second's gap between himself and the Luxembourg driver.
He won the Nürburgring Esports Team Endurance Championship in 2018 on this very track, so he knows his way around this track. And from Sweden, very experienced.
Oh, it looked graceful dancing through those curves. And again, we should reiterate, there is no difference between the setups of each of these drivers. And I do love that because it means that it really does come down to the driver and how well he can gel with the tools at his disposal. And certainly Danny Fredriksson got a very distinctive, smooth driving style, as you'd imagine from the Scandinavian folk. It's very rare to find an aggressive Scandinavian driver when it comes to these prototype-esque vehicles, I guess you could call them. And really, we're just looking at further into the circuit, aren't we? Where the curves really start to deceive those who aren't on their A game. Again, if you can keep it neat and tidy, then even if he's going a little bit slower than he might have wanted, Rob, he'll actually be gaining time on the likes of Mullenberger simply by value of not making a mistake.
Pretty clean lap here, 1:15.1 in the first sector. That's
Very
almost
nice.
half a second faster than Mullenberger. So we could see the first benchmark here from Daniel Fredriksson.
It was in the middle sector, wasn't it, where Mullenberger really started to struggle. Multiple adjustments through the carousel, of course. Around here where we started to see issues. And again, he's not really tackling the curbs as hard as Mullenberger, is he, Fredriksson? There's definitely a sense of cautious optimism. Here in particular, that's where the first error was from Mullenberger. A much safer affair for Danny Fredriksson.
Close part of the circuit now.
Wide berth, goes a little deep. Mullenberger did no worse.
Not attacking the curve so hard. Now we can see here through Wiesenmüller, usually one of the trickiest corners on the circuit. It's just navigating it nicely.
Again, he's just looking to get a good benchmark down, I think. I mean, it's easy to look at the pre-qualifying results and say, oh, well, you pre-qualified 9th, so you should be going all out. But, I mean, there's two different approaches that you can make in this particular occasion. And, I mean, look, again, up on Mullenberger's time is Danny Fredriksson. If you are going to go all out, fair enough, you might be able to beat your time from pre-qualifying. But keep in mind, pre-qualifying was attempt after attempt after attempt for these guys. This is one lap. One lap to get the business done. And quite frankly, it's better to get that almost banker lap mentality into your headset.
Look at the gap. Look at the gap.
Exactly. It's
3.1.
Yeah. You know, you might as well get the time down on the board and hope that those who have proven that they are faster ahead of you in pre-qualifying makes a mistake themselves, and then you're just going to find yourself rising up the order simply by getting the lap done cleanly.
kind of the same line on carousel, maybe a bit further to the inside even.
Yeah, he was hugging that super quickly, or super tight.
You're wondering, where does this livery come from? It's the livery that they used in testing. Black one. Be popular amongst the drivers. That looks so clean. That looks so good from Fredriksson.
Typical Danny Fredriksson, though, of course, as well. Maybe not the fastest guy out there, but he'll get the car home. So remember, keep an eye on the timing table to our left. 6:09 is the benchmark set by Mullenberger. 6:05 is what we're looking at as the overall lap time from Dumas. Of course, this won't break a physical record necessarily, but in this particular car, or on this particular track, we can look to make some headlines here today. Second carousel now. Before we head on to the Nürburgring once again.
A little bit to go. Coming up to Schwabenschwanz now. Just a moment. And of course to the second carousel. Schwabenschwanz, usually one of the most difficult parts of the Nordschleife, because you don't really know when to turn in. You can see he's not really hugging the apex, but because the road is, you know, it's not even, has a bit of a camber on it. Quite difficult to get it right. He's a lot more cautious here in the second carousel.
But again, conversely, Rob, he doesn't hit the wall. And each not mistake that happens in comparison to Mullenberger's lap is going to eat away tenths upon tenths upon tenths. It turns into seconds. We've already seen that it's turned into seconds by the Sector 2 split. And now really this is where the least amount of time is to be gained once we hit that 250 cap. It's all about nailing the final chicane in the final corner. And that'll be it for Danny Fredriksson in stage 1. But things are looking very rosy indeed for the Swedish driver. Nice cutting of the corner there. Hits the apex beautifully, just swinging his way round into the final corner. That looks like a very sweet lap from Danny Fredriksson. Crosses the line.
Oh,
and that is a
6:04.5. Wow.
6:04.5. What a lap. It looked good. To think, Rob, that looked cautious as well in parts. We could see even faster. We might see a 6:03.
And now we've got the next driver here waiting for his run. It's Mark Gassner. It's the guy who won GT Academy. The guy who got second place in A1 Esports this year. I actually participated in this event as well, and I couldn't believe how fast he was. A guy with a lot of real-life racing experience. Let's see what he can do with the ID.R.
And you'll see the team that he's with there, Williams Gym. Yes, that is basically an offshoot of the actual Williams F1 racing team. They have their own esports infrastructure, as do a lot of real-life racing teams nowadays, eager to get involved in the virtual scene.
Oh, and that lap is aggressive. You can see it right from the start. He is pushing. And he's one of the guys, I would say, he's one of the favorites, even though he was a bit further down in the pre-qualifying.
Less dancing of Danny Fredriksson and more grabbing by the throat in terms of driving style. High risk, high reward. And Danny Fredriksson's just going to be sitting back and watching this lap, hoping that a mistake comes.
See Arenberg, hard braking, very late on the brakes, a lot later than we saw from Mullenberger, for example. Comes out on the curb. Looks just so aggressive here. Down to Fuchsröhre now.
Would we say this guy's got the most experience in terms of real life on the Nordschleife?
Sure, yes.
Yeah.
Adenauer Force now, usually very tricky scene, and also a scene where we saw Mullenberger make a mistake. He's correcting the steering.
Yeah.
Gets a bit of oversteer even on the power there, and it's right out over the curb. It's
But he
very
did.
nice,
He hit the line better though, Rob. I think everyone else has gone deep there so far.
Yeah, but there's one thing that surprises me, and that is that we do not see a sector time from him at the moment. So did he run anywhere over the line?
Was there a cut? because you are spot on with that observation. We should have seen a Sector 1 time by now. And so either our overlay is lying to us, or keeping the information from us, or unaware to Mark Gassner as things stand, he might be out of the running already.
That's very curious indeed. It can probably only be before he started the lap that he invalidated his next lap by running over the line there. Because we saw him do a little wiggle before he started the lap.
Fine margins, read the rules, know the sim.
Oh, there's the sector time from Sector 2. It's all good, and he's a second faster than Fredriksson.
So do we think that it is literally just the first sector failed to register and that everything's okay, or?
Yeah, if this time shows up, everything is okay.
Okay. That's good
Cool.
to know,
Now,
of course.
don't need to be brave in the sim here because it's easy flat. Because this car is so insane. It's got so much downforce, just so quick in the corners.
Still the business end of this lap still to go for Gassner. Carousel. Not as aggressive on the inside as Fredriksson, but honestly, Rob, that's the best line I've seen through there today.
Just looks like a super clean lap from Mark Gassner. Well, now with our helicopter pilot. Brave as ever. Not quite as brave as Mark Gassner is on this lap.
Great shot, this. Need some pretty good dexterity in those camera fingers of yours if you want to get these sorts of shots in real life, that's for certain. Bit of a miss on the apex there, but again, you can get away with it as long as you're carrying the pace around the corner. You should be okay.
Oh, he's wide here.
I was going to say, he seemed to have edged off a little bit on the aggressiveness, but he is riding the curbs on that occasion. Leaves that out to dry on that exit. And once again, oh, cutting the curbs beautifully. I was saying we might hit 203s. If Gassner's lucky, he might be able to sneak into the 02s.
Almost the end of the tricky bits now. Takes so much speed, and you can see how he understands how to use the downforce of the car. He goes on the throttle again, exactly in the right moment.
Ooh.
That was wide, but it was okay. He didn't touch the grass. Let's see if this is flat. Not quite.
And again, he's wrapping it up using the exit curve to launch himself out onto the Döttinger Herd. That might be one of the better exits from the three we've seen so far. And it's just a waiting game now. Make sure you nail that final chicane. Make sure you hit the curbing on the inside of the final corner. And let's see what the timing sheet says. Under the bridge and towards that chicane we go then with Mark Gassner, the German.
Well, line chicane, always tricky. Can always destroy a lap. And that's the wide line that I mean there. That's one way you have to watch out. Also the curb on the inside here. And of course the final corner. That you don't drive so often in the sim. Let's see, Mark Gassner crosses the line. 601.5. Oh my goodness. What a lap.
That is rather extraordinary, actually. So keep in mind, 601.5. 601.5. That is almost a full 4 seconds faster. In fact, it is it's almost 4 seconds faster than the in real life lap record of the Nordschleife. Brilliant lap.
That was a fantastic lap. And that puts the pressure really on our next driver, on Georgios Zanetos. The man from Greece, just waiting a little bit. The oldest driver in the field with 46 years, but not the least experienced, that's for sure. Mercedes E-Racing competition finalist, ESWC finalist, DTM experience finalist, just a guy who's super experienced.
But he's not lost his pace. Damages for sure. If you're new to the world of Xanatos, then let us inform you. Very quick driver.
Yeah, and he's a guy who knows how to improve. He knows what he has to
Yes.
do to get better. You can see him on the leaderboards in RaceRoom. One day he's like sitting in 4th position, the next day he improves to 10s, next day he improves to 10s again. He just grinds it, improves, knows how to work with the car, knows how to improve here. And I think this format with the hot lap, it could suit him a little bit. Let's see how he drives the lap. It's a little bit more wide. Oh, understeer here.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. I'd say that a hot lap format should suit him. I wouldn't call him a pure hot lapper necessarily, but his consistency in races is a little bit touch and go. Sometimes he's electric, as hot as fire, but other days he's well off the boil. And around one of the longest circuits in the world, I can't help but think that offers up more opportunities to make mistakes than an opportunity to him to really appeal to his fast single lap nature.
But the thing with Xanatos is, the more downforce a car has, the better he gets. And this car should really suit him. No surprise to see him here as one of the favorites. Or as one of the finalists, I should say. Not sure if he's actually one of the favorites, but he's maybe a dark horse in the races. But that first sector, don't think we will get a time once again. Fortunately, probably have to wait until the second sector to get the split time here.
Adds a bit of suspense, Rob.
Yeah, it didn't look quite, as you can see another mistake. It didn't look as clean as the one from Gassner, that's for sure.
No. And it's difficult to measure it up against Fredriksson's lap, since Fredriksson's lap was so cautious. It's getting into the fine margins of what's quicker, making a little mistake here and there to get better exits or faster lines through certain other corners, or just keeping it as clean as possible. Either way, looking better than Mullenberger's effort. And right now, all he has to do is make sure it's faster than Mullenberger's effort.
Touch the grass again. It was fine.
Decent line. Little bit of a tank slap or an exit. Seems a bit eager on the throttle for me, Rob.
Yeah, but this can also work out in this car. This can also make it go very fast. He's already through Wiesenmüller, now coming up to Bergwerk. Always a difficult corner. Now we should get the second sector split time, hopefully. So we didn't see a mistake from Xanatos. Going too far there. It is 1.6 seconds down at the moment.
Ahead of Fredriksson, though.
I don't think he was ahead of Fredriksson at this split, though. I think it was just 1 second. But the last sector from Fredriksson wasn't as good, so maybe with a good last sector, Xanatos can turn it around.
Make sure that you don't go too far. Actually quite conservative on exit there from Xanatos. Towards the carousel. He's taken quite a wide entry. I'd suggest that he's slowed down a little bit there, gas off, or fill off the gas pedal necessarily to help himself around there. Curious corner of the carousel. It's one of my favourites because there's a banked corner. You never know really. You gotta. It's a balancing act. Of you don't want it to spit you out too early on. You want that optimum trajectory without losing too much pace through the corner. And I think
That was interesting here how he did this. That was a lot of commitment.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the time from Gassner is out of reach. The time from Fredriksson maybe isn't. But I'm not sure if it's gonna be enough. That was a mistake as well.
Keeps it on the road. But it is deep, it is going to impact the time. You can see how less aggressive he is on those lines than Gassner, certainly.
That's a decent time. I think he should easily beat the time from Mullenberger here.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, you need top 6 to get points. I think that's not out of reach. We've got some guys like Nick, also like Theo coming up, who are maybe not quite as experienced, and also Shomoshi, of course, motorcycle
Might crack under
racer.
the pressure. Yeah.
Wide entry here. Almost clips the grass. Knows exactly how wide this car is. Oh!
Wow! Any more further out, and that would have gone into a violent spin. Xanatos gets away with it. So down to Dottinger once again. Lucky boy Xanatos. It's the big difference between this lap and Mullenberg's lap, or Mullenberger's lap rather. Quite frankly, is the severity of the mistakes. There have been some errors from Xanatos, but it's more been going deep or, you know, being a little too conservative here and there.
I think this was a good effort. Takes a lot of curve. Has to watch out there in this corner all the time when validating a lap. Has to correct the steering. You could see it even from the outside. Crosses the line. 6:05.1. Decent lap, but P3 at the moment.
Still faster than Dumas. That is an achievement in itself. Right. For one of the
Neg
people
is the
who have
next
got
one.
no idea about this guy, Rob, Mihai Neg, the Romanian.
A finalist in Avia, finalist in the AVD Masters, so experienced with live events on RaceRoom, one of the up-and-coming young guys playing for Full Send Motorsport. He says it's just a team with his friends, you know. It's not like a pro team, he's just here to enjoy it. And now it's his time to go. It's his time to shine here in the final of the Volkswagen ID.R challenge.
Hey, you might be out here with your friends, but you're here. So consider yourself inaugurated as an actual esports driver. Okay, let's see how Mr. Neg gets on with this first section, because generally we get a good idea of how committed you are.
And once again, we won't have the first sector time.
That's pretty decent. A little wide. Very aggressive on that curb, and then left out to dry a little bit, but decent.
Yeah, not as fast on the entry as Gassner was. You could see the difference.
No.
I think this is in the region of Fredriksson and Xanatos.
I'd agree with you there.
Let's see, Quillbacher Höhe and then Flugplatz. Does he take any curb? Yeah, he does. That's interesting.
Tickle of the curb. Which is fine, again, as long as you got the good line through there. Braking zone. Decently hit, actually. That's
Yeah,
a
it was pretty
very
good.
nice line through there.
Good exit as well.
Yeah.
I like this lap so far.
I think certainly from what we've seen, it looks marginally faster than Fredriksson's, only because he's a little bit more committed after those first few corners.
So when we see the second sector split time, Fredriksson,
Lovely.
he was 1 second down on Gassner. Great as well. Looks really good this lap. Another one of these drivers who's not always in the Division 1 of the RaceRoom competition races, but when it matters, when there's a big competition, then he shows up, then he improves his pace. A bit wide here, but looked like a decent exit.
You can get away with it there, certainly.
Oh, that was crazy close to the
Little
grass.
twitch as well. Goes down very nicely. Good line. Doesn't get too romantic with the wall. Uphill. Very nice exit again.
And we have the first sector time after Bergwerk. See it there on the sign. Watch out. Tricky corner ahead. And now we should have the second sector time. Oh, 1.1. That's exactly in between Fredriksson and Sanitos.
It feels like that, honestly. It doesn't feel as fast as Gasner's lap, but certainly it's a little bit more entrepreneurial than Fredriksson's lap. A few more risks here and there. Bit more commitment through the faster sections. As long as he keeps it nice and solid now until the end, the rewards are for the taking.
So now, earlier entry than all of the other drivers.
Committed entry as well, but he's made it stick. Very nice.
Was a bit compromised in the middle, and he almost left it too early. He was spat out very wide from the carousel there. Looked dangerous. Oh, too wide here. Has to slow down.
Good save.
Good save, but cost him time.
What was I saying, Mihai? Keep it solid. Instantly ignoring my advice. He looks like he's getting more ragged as the lap goes on.
Yeah, touches the grass here. Oh, touches the grass again. That was almost a crash.
In the background, you have probably the likes of Georgios and Daniel was egging him on to crash at this point.
Of course, very popular with the YouTubers who film the crashes. Oh!
Oh my word.
He can see the gap, of course. He knows the times. He can see the gap, at least the one to Gasner. So maybe he's increasing the risk now at the second part of the lap.
There again as well. Again, it's the exit which is helping him. Carousel 2 traversed nicely, if unspectacularly. And breathe.
It's time to relax now for Mihai Nek.
Yeah. Again, he's going to top out on the speed front. Just about nailing these final few corners now. The damage has been done. Where is he going to end up? I've got a feeling after those mistakes, it's going to be a lot closer to Fredriksson than he'd like. Were they big enough mistakes to rub off a second, though? Bit more respect to the inside curb there. Bit of a compromised entry into the final corner. Crosses the line. And he has beaten Fredriksson.
Wow, and look at the gap!
A lot closer than he would have wanted, Rob.
Less than 200s! Oh my goodness, what a time from Mihai Nek. That was fantastic.
Could have been better, though. And that might put him at risk once other people have had their shot. We are halfway through this session.
Alexander
Up steps
Simoshi,
number, driver 6.
Hungarian, living in Germany, living in Salzgitter, actually very close to where the stream is produced and very close to the Volkswagen headquarter. 19 years, the youngest driver in the competition, and with motorcycle experience.
You ever traded 4 wheels for 2, Rob?
Well, I had a scooter. Not very good, it kept falling apart when the road was too bumpy. This car certainly does not fall apart unless you hit the wall hard. Damage is on, so you can damage your car. But we've just seen this one mistake from Luke Mullenberger so far, and it wasn't even so costly. And looked pretty clean from Shimoshi.
Quite aggressive as well. Well, Shimoshi at the tender age of 19, Rob, still plenty of time ahead of him when it comes to esports racing. Definitely one of the more unique esports, not just for the reason of most of these guys are using wheel setups and full rigs at home, but of course, age isn't so much of a factor here. In fact, the experience, much like in real life racing, helps more than hinders. You get to take on board that experience and learn when to slow down for incidents or when to make moves on fellow competitors. A lot of esports, and again, guys, you can trust me on this, I cover multiple esports now at this point in my career in casting and commentating. A lot of it's Twitch reactions and making hay while you're young. Still a bit of a Twitch there, speaking of.
And we have a first sector actually from him. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
But we do have a first sector, and he's a bit down on Mark Gassner, but not too far. So, sorry
Ahead
to
of
interrupt you.
Megalist.
Please continue, James.
Yeah, no, of course, no. So, yeah, the experience does factor in. Okay, you might lose a bit of raw speed, but who doesn't in real-life racing as well? It is the most realistic esport out there, and it's why we see the likes of Xanatos and Mullenberger, plenty of other names out there with 30-plus years on their resume, coming out here and still looking the part.
Yeah, it's just focusing on, on consistency as well, on practice, and on, very controlled movement, not so much on reactions. Of course, you sometimes have to save your car, but it's more about being precise and having the experience, especially when it comes to racing as well. We can see a lot of these experienced guys very good at, the tactical aspects of it. But let's focus on Somosi again, because that lap looked pretty decent so far. Oh, that's a mistake! That's a huge mistake!
That's a big mistake. It's not as big as the likes of what we saw from Mullenberger, but you can see it reflected in the time, Rob. All of a sudden, those times from Fredriksson and Neg are a lot closer than before.
Yeah, now he's going to lose time on the whole straight. Would still beat Xanatos, I would say, but it's gonna be very, very difficult to get the times from Neg and Fredriksson.
There's a twitch down entry as well. Big weight of responsibility in Superpole. Some people can just brush the pressure off their shoulder. For others, it's a very new environment. Very Fredriksson-like line, that one, Rob. Staying very close to the inside, keeping it safe. And honestly, he could do with the cleanliness after that mistake.
That looked clean. You see a little mistake on the lap from Mihai Neg before. Jamoshi doesn't do the same type of mistake here. But he's not taking a lot of curb. You can see there's a bit of curb here on the inside, but none on the exit. That's a big difference between him and pretty much all the other drivers, and let's see if that works out.
Could have taken a tighter line through there. I don't know, it seems like he's trying to avoid every other curve that he can now at this point. They can be your friend, they can be your foe, it just depends on how you treat them. And I guess more crucially, how you're treating your vehicle. I remind you, if you're just joining us, all of these drivers running the default setup, so everybody with the same car running under them, the same setup to utilize. It's all about the drivers and how they respond to those changes. Another conservative exit from Carousel 2.
Very curious what this time will be from Alexander Shamoshi. Kind of bumpy here.
But again, with the car running so low to the ground. It can be pretty smooth tarmac and it'd still be a rough ride. The final few seconds of the lap then has been a bit of a roller coaster ride for Shimoshi.
Let's see where the time stops.
That was a pretty nice couple of flicks there. German crosses the line, and where is he? Oh, that is not
P5.
good. It has cost him. Only faster than Mullenberger.
Oh, and there's one guy who's wasting no time at all. Jaroslav Honzik doesn't even give us time to show his beautiful face. One of the most popular guys in the sim racing community, also known as Jadir, streaming all his races on Twitch. And now it's his turn.
One of the happiest guys in sim racing, that's for sure. Plenty of wins under his belt in RaceRoom competition. Plenty of experience under his belt in RaceRoom competition.
Plenty of curb taken in the first sector.
Mm.
I think we should go on board with him. That was aggressive. That was the most aggressive we've seen out of anyone, I would say. He's not quite angling the car as much as Gassner was doing, because Gassner was really precise with how he got the car to move into the corners. But Honzik, he's certainly using most of the track out of anyone so far.
So curious to see his braking. This first major braking zone, I think, is a very telling factor between the two drivers, or between the drivers that we've got on display here. Brakes late, turns in very nicely, bit of curb cutting, and actually quite a conservative exit, not using all the curb there, but clean, and a lot of pace taken through.
No split time here. Oh, 7-3 down. That's down further than Shomoshi was on his lap. Pretty good at Adenauer Forst. Not as committed as the other drivers here, and that cost him time. He had to wait a bit until he could go on the throttle. Car was at the wrong angle. Certainly cost him a little bit of time here. So Honzik looking like he's in the region of Fredriksson maybe with this lap.
And by value of that neg as well.
Yeah,
Course,
that's so close.
It's ridiculous how close they actually ended up with those mistakes from neg near the end. And that does put both of them in a very interesting bubble position.
Oh, almost a mistake again from Honzik here. Must be said, Jaroslav Honzik, he has got the most RaceRoom competition wins on this track. He won the team endurance event together with the Fredriksson brothers.
Yes.
He won the 4-hour race just a couple of weeks ago in the RaceRoom Cafe at the Nürburgring. He won a race in eSports WTCR as well on the Nordschleife. Just super experience here. Also very naturally gifted driver, as we see the second sector split time here. 1.459. That's a bit further back than Neck and Fredriksson were, though. They were just 1 second behind Mark Gassner at the split. So maybe the region of Sanitos. Final sector, the longest sector on the track, will tell.
The last sector, Rob, is where Neg made the biggest mistakes, however. And I think it's where Fredriksson was at his most conservative. I think there's a lot of time to be unlocked here. Because remember, I think Gassner was looking pretty close to Fredriksson at the very least. And then after that third sector...
Yeah, it was 1 second and then it was 2.9.
Yeah.
Wide entry close to the apex at the carousel. And early exit. Oh! The earliest exit we've seen from anyone. Has to go over the curb. Now let's see this with cockpit. Let's see this here with the wheel movements. Not quite hitting the apex. Bit on the curb. Bit of a correction. Bit on the curb again. It's decent, but not as fast as he could potentially go here. If he avoids the curbs. No, he doesn't. He takes the curbs. You can see Shomoshi there avoiding the curbs. Taking a lot of grass even on the entry. Should be fine. Will not be track limits. Time is still running.
There's some serious commitment here from Jaroslav Honzik.
Yeah, that was good.
Not leaving anything on the table.
Running far out the gravel trap here. Bit of a correction once again, but he is pushing. Because remember, this is only the first stage. We've got 3 stages coming up here.
Goes after this, we've got 2 races on the GP circuit and an extra qualifying session, although at the end of these stages it is the same point structure. 10, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. But this stage arguably the most important, Rob, of course, in the event of a tie. It'll be the highest placed driver of this stage that comes out supreme. The Döttinger time. And Yaroslav has been down this stretch of track many, many times before. We can guarantee you that. The question is, has he done enough in that last section?
God, I predict he will be 4th with this lap, but it's so hard to tell.
What if he ends up splitting Neg and Fredriksson?
Oh.
I tell you what, we have seen crazy things in our time as commentators on this simulator. And a big shout out to Volkswagen for joining the family. It's great to have you with us. Honzik crosses the line.
Only 6th?
Only 6th. That looked better than the time says.
Oh, that's quite a shame. And now we've got the surprise of the pre-qualifying. The driver from Monaco, Guillaume Theo. I'm really surprised that he got so far up. Driving for SDL Esports by Logitech G. That's the same team that Ben's Bunky drives for example. A very experienced team. And let's see what the 36-year-old can do. It's a bit of time. Start his lap, he's just waiting here. All the drivers have got 60 seconds.
Still shocks me that he's 36, by the way. I always think of Guillaume as like some young 18, 19-year-old.
I'm still waiting a moment. Let's hope he got the message that it's his turn now to race. There we go. It's surprising that he didn't like restart his run. His tires must have gotten a little bit cold here for sure.
It's all part of the plan, Rob.
This downforce, it won't take long until they're hot again. He was certainly a bit nervous about the Hotlap format here, that he doesn't have a second attempt.
So far, it is Gassner on top. And looking very difficult to dislodge as well. Of course, there are only 3 more drivers, including Teo, to put in a lap time. So actually, Gassner's guaranteed points, at the very least.
Yeah, it's no surprise with this lap. I wonder if the Euronics guys who are coming afterwards can do anything about it. But Gion Teot having a decent lap so far. Arenberg, of course, will tell as usual. Oh, that's late. That was late.
Of course, those 200ths that Neg has over Fredriksson as well, they have proven crucial, because Neg will be scoring at least 1 point as well.
Not the same, a bit less gap than Honzik had. Not taking the curb here. Not now forced now. That was nice. Oh, he angled his car, had to slow down a little bit here, but takes the right amount of curb. Looks pretty solid. He's not taking 100% of risk, but he's driving a very decent lap here.
Sector 2 and Sector 3, they're the real money makers. What are we saying? We want to see a second off Gassner at least if we're looking for top 6.
In the second sector, we've seen 1.4 seconds from, I think it was Shomoshi and Honzik as well.
Yeah.
So I would imagine he's probably in the same region. It looks clean. It looks a bit... Oh, big moment here. Oh, I think that must have cost him a bit of time there. Bit of a wiggle there over the curb. Monegasque driver certainly pushing now. Bergwerk to navigate, and then we can see the second sector split time. Correcting the steering again and again here.
Looking at an uncertain lap.
Oh, that is good. It's good. It's less than
But
a
it's
second.
a good time. Yeah.
That could be even P2 if he nails the final sector, but of course the final sector is so long and the mistake can happen so easily around the Nordschleife.
But this, I mean, honestly, Rob, all this is doing is further solidifying just how good a lap that was from Gasner.
Yeah, that was a fantastic lap from Gasner. I think this could even win him the competition. Well, I mean, at least the stage of the competition.
Yeah.
That was a great lap. But Guillaume Théod doing his best here, and he's proving that it's no one-off that he's qualified so high up here. He's certainly driving a fantastic lap so far. Carousel.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice.
The out bit of a wiggle, but it was okay.
The wiggles have not hindered him so far over the course of the lap, to be fair. It might be looking a little unstable, but clearly the pace is there.
Right here.
Very nice, very nice. Again, looking clean. A bit wide there. Wraps it up. Uphill. Not bothering to touch the curving. Very nice. Lovely line through there. This is looking good for Théod.
Yeah, pretty clean lap so far from him. Oh!
Another wiggle.
Another wiggle. And you can see even on the default setup how every driver has a different style of driving this car. Goes right up to the grass there. Just tries to get a, like, almost swinging his car into the corners. Like in Carousel now, corrections once again. Goes out wide, but not over the grass. It's hard to judge because he's got a different driving style to the other drivers that we watched. But it's certainly not a slow driving style at all.
And that's the bulk of his work done. Not too much time to be earned through the Döttinger Her. Plenty to be lost in the final chicane. And this is looking pretty nailed on then for a P2 lap. Of course, a reminder, this isn't necessarily qualifying for anything. This is literally a hot lap segment. So this lap for points.
Oh, and now we have to hold our breath. Will he really slot in between Neck and Fredriksson maybe? Because I think he might be in this region. Oh, all the way over the line! That was right on the edge. Let's hope his lap time counts here. Théod out of the final corner. Comes across the line.
There it is.
Up to P2. What a nice lap from the Monegasque driver.
Still 2.6 off Gasner, mind. Lost a lot of time in that final sector, or maybe it's just a case of Gasner being so rapid in the final sector.
Florian
will
Hasse
this man?
next.
Yeah, will he be able to usurp him? Compatriot
him.
Florian Hasse.
GT Masters Esports Championship winner, together with Julian Kunze, who will come up next. A1 Esports champion. It's the tournament that Gasner was second in. Nürburgring Esports launch opening winner. So super good driver on this track as well. Although it's maybe not his favorite track, I think he is especially a hot candidate for the sprint races coming up afterwards. Not sure what we can expect from him at the Nordschleife. A very busy man, Florian Hasse, competing in a lot of championships.
And not necessarily the fastest in any of them, but he is Mr. Consistency for a reason. He gets the job done through continually scoring top results. Podium after podium, that's his game. Of course, I think that style of his calling card might not be so hot here, Rob, especially with the gap in points between first and second. 4 might not seem like a lot when you read it out as a number, but then you consider that 4 points is what, just under a sixth of the total points that you can earn.
Win certainly pays off here in the Hotlap competition. Don't get the first sector time from Florian, so we have to wait for the second one. Just makes it a little bit more exciting. And it looked like a solid lap. It looked like a lap where you don't have so much to talk about, because he's just driving it, you know, almost
Nicely.
normally, as you would expect.
Be, I'm sure, a nice sight for the Germans out there to see a potential German 1, 2, 3 on the Nordschleife.
And already the first surprise, Honzig taking no points from the Hotlap session.
Yeah,
And is confirmed so far.
that last sector really cost him. So who's on the bubble? Tremoshi
Yeah,
and Xanatos.
yeah, but Hasse and Kunze left.
Yeah. So Fredriksson guaranteed at least a point as well.
They're coming up next, and then we have the split time. Curious to see what it is.
Is it going to be purple? That's the big question. Or is it going to be green? It's
It'll be green, at just 2/10. That's the closest we've seen anyone go to the time of Mark Gassner.
But we're now entering Gassner's sector. Oh. As I think we might have lost someone from the server. We've lost Shimoshi. Now that is a problem. I'm not too sure on the disconnect rules, since we weren't necessarily anticipating this situation. So hopefully they can rejoin.
Yeah, he can rejoin for the second race for sure. But the problem is it deleted his lap time, of course.
Well, we know where he was at least. We know he was 6th. So if Hasse was to go into the top 3, which is looking more and more likely by the corner, we won't necessarily even have to worry about it.
And just if Hasse and Kunze make a big mistake here, then Shomoshi is going to take points anyway. Doesn't look too likely for him.
Very nice. Oh, that's a perfect little kiss of the outside curb as well. Stays clear of that middle curbing. That's not necessarily the worst thing in the world.
He's got a message from Shomoshi, so he's still ready, and it's just a small issue here. Still showing him in the game, so he's ready to race in the next stages either way. But we have to focus on Florian Hasse now, because this could be an opportunity to get the lap of Gassner. It didn't look quite as spectacular as the one from Gassner, but it just looked clean. Very curious if this will be enough. My gut instinct is telling me it's probably not gonna be enough, but you never know, especially not with Florian Hasse. A driver who's been so successful, who waited so long for his first win on RaceRoom Racing Experience, and then he has taken plenty of victories afterwards on the Döttinger Höhe now. Now you have time to think. Now you're thinking, oh, this mistake, is it gonna cost me?
I'm honestly not too sure. It's an impossible task to try and separate an aggressive driving style and such a smooth driving style as Florian's. Both could be as fast as each other. One might not look as fast, but could be faster. We're going to get the answer to this question.
With Grassy on the
Now.
exit. Ah, it's P2.
Oh,
That's a decent time from Florian Hasse. Nice job, P2. So P3 at worst, because there's only one single driver left.
even
That
still,
is
Rob.
fastest
Still only-
driver from pre-qualifying.
Yeah. There's still a second and a bit off Gassner, though. You lost a second or so in that final sector. So it's up to Julian Kunze then. Fastest in pre-qualifying. And you know what? Such as Gassner's performance, Rob, I'm not sure he can do it. Especially
Stink.
after a start like this.
Once again, we don't have the first sector time. I think it's because he started the lap already before we jumped to his car. So we have to wait for the second sector time.
But already, Rob, I'm looking at that mistake and I'm thinking, at best, second.
As well. That one mistake. You never know. Sometimes you can... It is a wider line, of course. So if it's not too bumpy... Oh, we have a first sector time and it's less than a tenth off.
That
Okay, this is
surprises
on.
me.
It's on. Takes the curb here. Takes the curb again. This is super aggressive. Oh man, he's going out for the P1 here in this session. He's not holding back. Super aggressive, using all of the track once again. Julian Kunze, this is a stunning lap already, despite this mistake.
Would have been a purple sector without that mistake.
Could have been, but that's also his style here. He commits, he tries to use all of the circuit.
Oh my word. Have a bit of lawn mowing as well. Dust being kicked up.
Oh, no!
Oh, he's lost it! He's done!
Oh wow, Julian
He's done.
Kunze,
He's not scoring points.
he's not gonna score points with this.
Well, he's given up.
He's given up. Oh wow.
That's a premature end to stage one. That's a spectacular end to stage one. It's going to be Gassner then, who takes the full 10 points ahead of Hasse, Teo, Neg, Fredriksson, and Xanatos.
Here we can see it. Shamoshi left the server, but he would have been P7 anyway. So, in that sense, it doesn't matter that he left the server. Mark Gassner. We knew the lap was quick, but we didn't expect that necessarily. That's a huge surprise here in the first stage of the session. Oh, wow.
That's seriously because I'm speechless by that. Kunze went for broke and, well, ultimately it broke him. Big surprise, and I think that we're now going to be taking a break. Am I right, Rob? As we switch from our hot lap settings to our two races on the Nürburgring Grand Prix layout.
Yeah, as the commentators, we are taking a break, but you as the spectators, you do not have to take a break because we've seen the virtual laps now. Now we're going to take some time to take you around the real lap because we've got a little video prepared for Romain Dumas when he set a record run, the electric car record around the Nordschleife. Make sure to watch this, make sure to stay with us here because we will be back, of course, with the second stage, with the multiplayer races afterwards, where the Volkswagen ID.R challenge will be decided.
the Green Hell. That was the nickname that Jackie Stewart, the Scottish racing driver, gave this place. The Nordschleife, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, is an unforgiving, undulating track over 73 corners and over 20 kilometres that is very hard to learn and still to this day challenges many people. And talking of challenges, that's exactly what Volkswagen have come here to do. Today they're testing to see if they can beat the outright electric record in this, the car that smashed Pikes Peak at the end of 2018, the ID.R.
Nordschleife is really has a very high reputation for race cars.
Yeah.
And this is the reason
notorious.
why we are here. Yes, the track itself is very challenging because it has a high variety of speed, of cornering speed. Also, battery management is a big challenge because there's a last part of the track, which is the high-speed part.
The last bit.
The last bit, Döttinger Höhe, because it takes a lot of energy, so we have to have enough power and energy available for this part.
It's a 500 kilowatt motor. What's the size of the battery pack?
So we have more than 40 kilowatt hours, and the charging time is 20 minutes, but then it's also, you have to balance the battery, we have to bring it to the right temperature, so it will take more than 20 minutes just to be ready for going out again.
Presumably Romain has to recharge himself because mentally it's an extremely challenging course, isn't it?
With Romain we have a very, very good driver who knows the Nürburgring very well.
I couldn't believe Pikes Peak. Could not believe the pace of that car. I don't think many Americans could either. But
Well, I know the track 100%, you know. I'm driving here for more than 10 years, so for sure I know the place. But at the end of the day, more laps you do, better you learn, more quicker you are.
okay, Romain's just been bolted in and strapped down. The tyre warmers will be coming off in a second.
Of course, with Romain, they have a great driver here. He has lots of experience in Nürburgring, which is great. And I think they'll be doing it, but it needs some adjustments, definitely.
So I'm sat here on the feeder lane, which takes you onto the Nordschleife just here, so he'll come out any second. It's weird because you realise it's so close to the public road. And the Nordschleife here is actually not classed as a racetrack, it's originally classed as a toll road. Just ridiculous.
I mean, there's nothing like Nürburgring in the world, you know. It's like the Statue of Liberty or the Eiffel Tower. It's unique, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, normally can hear a lot of noise, a lot of when you jump and land, you know, you always have some noise inside the car and so on. Now it's very smooth, very quiet. It's quite surprising, so you also have to adapt the speed, you know, to your view, to your vision. But it's it's very interesting.
How does it feel driving an EV on the ring compared to a piston car?
I think as soon as you apply throttle, you have a lot of power. So for that, you arrive a lot faster on the next corner compared to what I'm used to with a GT car here. Due to that, you have to readapt a little bit your driving style. You have a lot more downforce, bigger tires. So compare a GT car that you can go on a curb, you can take all the curbs. On this car, not, you know. You have to avoid the curbs.
Because of the ground clearance?
For sure.
How much faster is this than a GT car?
I don't know, we'll see. Hopefully a little bit to break the electric record.
Yeah. And is the idea to get the outright electric record or go for the full record? Because there's a bit of a difference, isn't there?
It's a huge difference. The lap time is really outstanding. Our target is the electric record.
So the ID.R is now back from its final test session for today. The next time you see that car at this track, it'll be the day that they try for the world record. Monday the 3rd of June and a very, very warm morning here at the Nürburgring. It's t-shirt weather and yet the weather forecast is looking terrible. There's thunder and lightning due. The ID.R is being prepped as we speak to get it out on track as quickly as possible to capitalise on the weather conditions. Romain Dumas flew in from Le Mans where he was testing last night. So hopefully a world record for that electric car can be set today without the use, of course, of any of that. A lot of pressure on one guy, one car. Crumbs. There he goes on his shakedown. I think the helicopter's going to be hard pushed to keep up. Bearing in mind, he was supposed to be doing just a shakedown. And bearing in mind, back in May 2017, the Neo EP9 electric car set the record of 6 minutes 45 seconds. We've just seen that. 6 minutes 25 seconds. So already 20 seconds quicker than the current world record. This is the first run of the day, run number 1. Who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of hours. If the weather holds up and the car stays consistent, this is some low numbers.
We need to bring the battery a little bit on into temperature. And now, of course, when the car comes back, we have to cool it down, and then we start the process again.
What top speed are you going to expect from?
Here we will do about 250 to 60 top speed.
Really? Yeah. Okay. They haven't really tightened it up as much as they want to apparently yet, and the conditions are still brilliant. The chopper's up. Is it going to go better than 625? It's going to appear on it. 612. 612. Clearly the VW team are really happy. Roman's come in, round of applause. 6 minutes 12 seconds, run number 2. The ID.R is sitting there, cooling down, being charged up and checked, ready for the next run. You went out on the first run and smashed the record straight away on the shakedown.
We learn, you know, each lap we are learning a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now in terms of aero balance, we found something very good. I enjoy a lot the car now.
You enjoy it now? You weren't enjoying it so much before?
Yeah, but, it was okay, but now I have to say it was the first lap that I could really push, and I can feel that I start to be on the limit. So for sure, we will not gain so much time anymore, but it was a lot of fun.
The battery management, the temperature management steps in now, and try to have the best out of it over the whole distance, because you can be very good at 6 kilometers, but at 9 you have to shut everything off because it's too hot.
Just outright drag straight is quite hard work for this car, especially when it's warm weather, and Roman has to really bear that in mind.
The more you relaxed you are, the more you have confidence in the car, the faster your lap times.
So flow.
The flow.
Is it strange for you not competing against another car?
No, you know, in Nordschleife you are dreaming to drive alone, you know, and to enjoy the track.
Okay.
You know, when you are doing the races here, you're always frustrating to get traffic and to pass slower car.
Yeah.
So to be alone, it's just magic.
This is good.
This is not good. This is incredible good.
Okay. You're gonna keep pushing today.
Yes, yeah, we try one more time, I think.
One more.
Yeah, for sure, you know. But we are here. Beautiful day, nice cars. So we have to try, you know.
Yeah.
One thing is important of this track: never lose the respect. If you lose respect, it's gonna hurt. That's for sure. You know.
Okay, he's just done the last lap. So he started off today with a 6:25, then he went down to a 6:12, then he went down to a 6:09. He's just done a 6:05. So absolutely destroyed the record by 40 seconds for outright electric fastest lap of the Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Well, very proud. I mean, what the team has done again in this 9 months to prepare the car, only with 2 days here, 1.5 day testing at the Nürburgring, I think is a fantastic performance today. And with 6:05, I think everybody can be really proud on itself.
A brilliant story, which continues into the world of esports. Welcome back. If you have just rejoined us after maybe taking a little step away, or if you've been enjoying that wonderful short film, welcome to the Volkswagen ID.R Challenge Final. We're into stage 2 now, after just watching our hot laps around the Nordschleife, and we travel from that part of the circuit over to the other part of the circuit, one which a lot more of you might be a little bit more familiar with on a corner-to-corner basis. It's the Nürburgring GP layout, and this is where stage 2 and 3 is going to be held. Stage 2 comprises of a 10-minute qualifying session, followed by a 10-minute race, and then stage 3 is going to be the shortest of all, a sharp sprint race featuring a reverse grid of the top 5 finishers from the top 5 finishers from second race. They get reversed for stage 3, and it's then another 10-minute dash to the end. Bit more of a shorter format then, and this is the proceedings as they were from the hot lapping element. Huge moment of elation for Mark Gasner, who ended up taking the fastest lap by over a second from Florian Hasser. Guillaume Teilhard rounding out those podium places, with Neg Fredriksson and Xanatos also banking points. The big surprises from that particular session. First of all, Jaroslav Honzik not getting any points on the board whatsoever, but then Julian Kunze, the last man to go, just words escape me, Rob.
Yeah, that was
describe
brutal.
what just happened. Yeah.
That was really brutal, because we all expected, oh, Kunze, he's gonna challenge Gasner now. He's so aggressive. He just pushed a little bit too hard then. And yeah, no points for Julian Kunze. And that means even if Gasner finishes second in both races and Kunze wins both races, Kunze doesn't take the title. He can still take the title, of course, but he needs some help. Gasner can certainly make sure that he wins the title, even by finishing behind Kunze. And of course, Florian Hasse and Guillaume Theo, they've scored a lot of points, and especially Theo, he looked pretty strong.
But here's the thing. Hot lapping on the Nordschleife is a very different beast to A, qualifying around the Nürburgring with multiple attempts at this metaphorical cherry, but then on top of that as well, also, Rob, racing. Pure and simple racing. These guys will not have raced these cars together before in direct competition with each other, with such high stakes on the line, and ultimately the variable of other drivers on the circuit as well as you really means that old adage comes back in of anything can happen, and maybe it'll be swings and roundabouts for Julian Kunze. Might not have had his way in stage 1, but stage 2 and stage 3 might very well prove a little bit more to his taste.
Yes, indeed, it might. He's very experienced to racing here. But still a big task ahead. Once again, have a look at the point system. 10, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1 in each stage. So 30 points is the maximum that a driver can score. So in a way, the sprint races are more important than the hot lapping session before. But yeah, you still have to deliver, and especially in the reverse grid races will be really difficult.
And the keen-eyed among you will notice that although we are on the Nürburgring GP layout, we're not running the full GP course. No, we're cutting off before what is traditionally known as turn 5. We reassign that right-hand 180 as turn 5, and then the track continues as you were. So it's a shorter layout to what you might be used to and accustomed to. But I honestly think that it's going to make for just as good racing. The new turn 5 is a pretty decent overtaking opportunity, especially if you get a good run out of turn 4.
Yes, drivers have got a practice session here. Of course, we didn't know exactly how long it takes, how long the drivers can, how long they need between the laps and when they start their laps and so on. And we wanted to give them a little bit of time to adjust to the circuit as well. So we're in the practice session right now at the moment. Drivers have got like 15 minutes left to prepare here for the 2 sprint races, and then it gets really exciting. So we've got a little bit of time to recap what just happened in the session before. And of course it starts the big story of Julian Kunze. The guy who was looking like the favorite, who was the fastest driver in the pre-qualifying session by quite a gap, by 8 tenths actually. Then, yeah, just a mistake. And it's pretty much over for him when it comes to the hot lapping. Didn't even finish his lap. He knew he wouldn't get points with it. And now, I think the gloves will be off when it comes to the race.
There was almost a premonition though. Do you remember after those first few corners where he had a twitch and he went wide and we were thinking, oh boy, that might be the top time out the window now because he's made that mistake. And then he was still less than a 10th off Gasner's time. To think that if he hadn't made that mistake, he would have been purple in Sector 1. But ultimately, it was too much. You know, you saw plenty of other drivers who, okay, they might have been aggressive in parts, but they knew when to tone it down. And Kunzen never toned it down. And I feel like that was the big mistake. I mean, ultimately, yes, of course he didn't need or want to complete the lap because it was a big accident. It was a massive spin in Sector 2, the biggest accident that we'd seen all throughout Stage 1. I mean, even the likes of Luke Mullenberger, who made a couple of mistakes here and there, big mistakes, didn't do a full 180 spin.
Yeah, but it certainly shows that if you want to win here, if you want to beat the time of Gasner, you have to push. It shows that you have to go to the absolute limit. You have to accept the challenge. And this is something that Kunze did. He accepted the challenge. He just pushed this tiny bit too much. Luke Mullenberger, for him, I think it was a great experience to be here at the hot lap session. But at the end, first driver on the road, highest pressure, of course, and then didn't quite work out. So he's also sitting on 0 points right now from Luxembourg.
Another man who disappointed then, Jaroslav Honzik, Rob, who, for one reason or another, that final sector just never came together. It looked like he'd be slotting in and around Neg and Fredriksson, but ultimately he came away with the third slowest time of everyone.
Yeah, at least we have time to show his pretty face now. So Jaroslav Honzik won't be happy with that for sure. But still, there's still a lot you can gain in these races, and he knows how to race. He can be aggressive in the races. He knows how to overtake.
In him and Kunze, there's plenty still to play for. If they're not gonna, I mean, I'd be surprised if they don't do better in this qualifying session for a start. It's gonna be 10 minutes to get your fastest lap in, with multiple attempts at that as well. So even if they do make mistakes, it won't be as harshly dealt with as what happened in Stage 1. And that's why I want to have a little look at Gasner now, because Gasner we felt was a real surprise with just how good his hot lap was. I mean, maybe it shouldn't have been a surprise. The man with the most real-life experience on the Nordschleife for a start. A lot of real-life racing experience as well. Doesn't necessarily translate fully into the world of esports, but he kind of got his start in esports as well. A winner in the GT Academy. So he's got this duality about him where he's had a big helping of experience in both. And okay, he didn't come into this as one of our favorites necessarily. He's got to be treated as one now, surely.
Yeah, certainly he has to be treated as one of the favorites now. I mean, he's leading the points after all.
Mm-hmm.
He's won plenty of big events in sim racing and racing games before. He's got a lot of experience, but we haven't seen him so often in the races. He's not competing in as many championships as Kunze and Hasse, for example, are. Also Theo. So, let's see how he will, with which kind of aggression level he will go into the races. And of course he's alone here, while Kunze and Hasse are teammates for Euronics Gaming, so that might be interesting as well to see how this plays out.
Well, we should also I don't necessarily preempt the comment necessarily, but we should remind everyone there is no team's championship here necessarily. It's a lone wolf championship, so all of these drivers entering as solo entries. But of course, drivers will have their allegiances to bigger organizations. They will enter as teams, as teammates in other championships. And so behind the scenes, they might have been working on styles to drive the car, not necessarily set up in this occasion either though, of course, Rob, since all of these drivers are running on default setup. So I guess it's more for the team. Euronics will be proud that they're the only team to have 2 drivers from their stable entering, but ultimately it's much more down to Kunze and Hasse individually to take home the spoils.
Yes, indeed it is. Let's see if that even... Well, they're the only team who's got 2 drivers, and actually it's a bit of a surprise, especially not to see teams like Mira Esports, like more drivers from the Williams roster here at the event. But still, it's a very competitive field, and we've seen people like Theo being able to step up. Mihai Nek was another one who just stepped up, and yeah, it's great to see.
And since we've got time, really, let's talk about just how great an achievement it is, because ultimately we can say, oh, you know, last, 10th, oh, woe is me, you're so... These guys are not slow, Rob. They beat over 11,000 other competitors to get to this stage of the competition alone. So that in itself is a huge achievement, but also the caliber of drivers that all these guys are beating. I mean, you know some of the names that took part in pre-qualifying and who didn't make it to this stage, and it's quite an interesting roster of names that you might know from out and about in the world of esports.
Yeah, for example, Gergo Baldi missed out, Moritz Löhner missed out as well. And we've got the likes of Georg Ordner, was 27th in the competition, P35 for James West, better known as Gamer Muscle, and P75 for Jimmy Broadbent. These drivers are missing out. They managed to beat the time from Romain Dumas, so they were all very fast, and you can see them in the top 100 of 11,000 people. That is quite an achievement, but not quite good enough to be here. And someone like Mihai Nek, for example, the Romanian driver, gets here, qualifies for the final, goes in as an underdog, and scores already 3 points in the opening segment, in the first stage of this competition.
And those 3 points could be very crucial indeed. Prizes for first, second, and third after 3 stages. Of course, we've already had the first stage complete. All of the following stages then going to be here on the Nürburgring. 30 minutes total of on-track action once we get to it. 10-minute qualifying session and 10-minute sprint race for stage 2. A 10-minute sprint race for stage 3 with a reverse grid of the top 5 drivers from race number 2. But good prizes on the line, Rob, with high values attached to them as well.
Yeah, of course, we've got the prizes here. Our Experience Ice Sweden. If you do not know what that is, that means that you go to Sweden, you fly to Sweden, more or less. Well, maybe Fredriksson wins, he doesn't have to. You get a Volkswagen and you can drift it on ice, on snow with an instructor. Not sure if Fredriksson will need an instructor because he's got plenty of real-life racing experience under his belt, of course. And I would say Daniel Fredriksson. But Mihai Nek once again here on the screen, but let's maybe have a close look at Daniel Fredriksson, one of the first drivers to go out there. And his time in the end was good for points.
And only 200ths behind Mihai Neg as well. Of course, Neg making a lot of mistakes in the final sector of the Nordschleife, which made it look closer than it possibly should have been on paper. But an experienced head is Danny Fredriksson, and ultimately, Rob, one of the only people to be super conservative and clean on his lap, and it ended up paying out with 2 points.
Yeah, it certainly paid out for him. It was already a great start for the evening for him, and we can see the first times here in the practice session if we just take a look back into the game. We've got the standings in the practice session at the moment. Florian Hasse fastest, Belukus in second, Mark Gassner once again.
All these drivers not necessarily separated by too much. It's only really Samoshi and Willenberger who are well off the pace. But look at Gassner up there again. The pace is there. The pace is real.
And it's very close, especially behind between Zanetos and Honsig. Look at the gaps. It's just over 2 tenths separating P4 to P8. It's looking very, very close. We'll have a 10-minute qualifying, as you mentioned before. And I just saw a question in the chat. Which one was the slowest time in the pre-qualifier? That's interesting to know as well. It was 11 minutes and 57 seconds, .123.
Only 5 minutes off the fastest. That's fine. That's close. To be fair, probably better than what I can do.
But, I mean,
I'd be surprised if I could make it around a full lap even.
yeah, we talk about this number, 11,000 people competed in the competition. It's not true, actually. It's 11,000 people who managed to finish a lap. I do not know how many people have tried. Nordschleife, not the easiest circuit, especially if you're running with the keyboard, for example, or a gamepad. But of course, you can just try it out on RaceRoom. This year's competition with the hot lapping is already over. That's how we determined the finalists. But we're pretty sure there will be new competitions coming up, also with Volkswagen, hopefully. And some of them are even free. And these BMW banners, they wish they could build a car like this.
It is, I mean, listen, it certainly is one of the prettiest cars I've ever seen. I could absolutely envisage that running around Le Mans, beating people left, right, and center in style.
And they've done quite a few events. Of course, Goodwood was one of the most important ones. Pikes Peak as well, with the heavily modified version of this car, when it ran in the grey livery, and then also in China and Tianmen. And this lap is really insane. You have to go over to the Volkswagen channels and just watch it, and it's a crazy
like,
lap.
It's
how
almost
bumpy
like
the road is.
Go on, sorry.
No, I'm finished. I was
Oh,
just still in awe over this lap.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lovely callback, and I don't know whether Volkswagen would necessarily agree, since it is very much a look to the future. But the side of the car, it gives me almost like an 80s, 90s Le Mans prototype vibe, with the massive rear spoiler, the super streamlined bodywork as well. And the best thing about this car, I feel, Rob, especially, is how much this is going to contribute to electric car technology. That's the big push nowadays. We're looking to cut down on emissions. We're trying to quite literally save the planet from itself, and indeed from the harm that human beings have done to it so far. And I'm not looking to go all Greenpeace on you or everything, guys, but you know, it's a genuine problem, and this is why so many resources are being placed into electric cars and hopefully electric racing in the future. I am so hopeful that the races that we're going to see today, although they're going to be short, only 20 minutes total between the two races, of course.
Yeah, of course, battery capacity, that's one of the topics.
Yeah.
Still some work needs to be done, but you can see, I think this is also in the initial spirit of motorsports, and motorsports was not only competition, but it was also something where you get progress on the technical side.
Yes.
You develop technology that can be used for everyone, for you and me. And that's great to see, of course, here with the Volkswagen ID.R car that certainly splits the opinion of some people because of its electric engine. But I think this is a step into the future.
Oh, boo-hoo. Boo-hoo that it's got a different engine. Looks great. I'm very hopeful that it's going to race great as well. What's not to love?
And let's remember there's still one thing that is more eco-friendly than electric cars. That is sim racing.
Yes, of course. We have 0 emissions whatsoever here.
Well, I mean,
the best of both worlds.
I have two computers running here at the same time. I'm not sure how good that is. At least not for my monthly power bill. But either way, sim racing, of course. And you can see how close sim racing gets to real racing. We've got the drivers like Gassner here in the race, like Fredriksson, like Honzig, who've got real-life racing experience. And we've seen drivers on RaceRoom like Tim Heinemann, for example, like Florian Bodin and Super Racer, who make the... Yeah, Nils Langefeld, great example from the WTCR Championship. You've got these people, you know, changing from sim racing to real racing, from real racing to sim racing, and it's getting closer and closer. And that's great to see.
And ultimately, a big shout out to the guys behind the scenes at RaceRoom who quite literally put this car together, of course, with feedback from those at our partners at Volkswagen, who, of course, made this championship and this final possible in the first place. It was great to have that little feature with Robert Dumas, who was basically saying, listen, you know, the differences between this car and the car that I drive in real life are so minimal that the only discernible difference I can actually figure out for myself is I don't feel scared to crash. You know, there's no personal threat to my life. And again, it feeds into why I feel like esports racing 9 times out of 10 is going to be better than real life racing, because esports drivers feel empowered to go for the moves that might not necessarily be on in real life. Of course, that sometimes does come back to haunt them, because they'll think they'll be able to go for a move, and then it turns out that it's not on. But what's racing without incidents? It adds to the drama, it adds to the intrigue, and ultimately it adds to the entertainment value as well.
Yes, and we're almost here for the second stage, the qualifying session for the sprint race. And before we go there, we've got one more video message that I'm just going to show you.
Volkswagen.
So welcome officially then to stage 2 of the Volkswagen ID.R Challenge Final. 10 minutes of qualifying ahead of us, and 10 minutes of racing ahead of us.
Apologies for that, that was the wrong button. This is what I wanted to show you. Here we go. Nürburgring Grand Prix sprint circuit. All the cars still in the pit lane because it takes a little bit until the battery is loaded, until they can start their engines.
You bet. I wouldn't have minded seeing that feature again. Lovely bit of art, honestly. I mean, I'm not one for art usually, but goodness me, it's a lovely expressionist. I think it's an expressionist piece. I'm trying to bring out my GCSE art level knowledge, and failing in doing so as well. But here we go, 10 minutes on the clock for qualifying. And unlike, of course, the hot lap session that we saw in stage 1, everyone is out on circuit at the same time. So they're going to have to find their own little piece of track if they want to get the best lap possible. A reminder of our standings: it's Gassner from Hasse from Teot. Top 6 at the end of this stage will be scoring points. So right now, this is just for your starting position on track for the first race of the evening. Nothing more than that.
And it always looks like a little race start when they stream out of the pit lane. Everyone tries to get the first position in the queue. I'm not sure who it is who's got the first position, but it looks like it is Julian Kunze indeed. With a shorter circuit coming up here, let's go on board for the first hot lap with Julian Kunze in this qualifying session. Coming out of the final corner. Often known as the Coca-Cola corner, but the corner names change very frequently at the Nürburgring, so it's hard to keep track there.
I've got my track map up, Rob, so I'll do my best here.
Oh,
with what we've got.
What a risk is he taking? I mean, this time he's got more attempts than just one, but still.
Maybe frustrated from letting so many points go in stage 1, round turns 1, 2, 3, and 4, comprising the Mercedes Arena. Another snap! This setup, default as it may be, not suiting Julian Kunze into stage 5 on this shorter circuit. The 180 round, back onto the main circuit we go. What would be turn 10 in real life. And then into the Warsteiner Curve. And down towards Advenbogen before the NGK chicane and the aforementioned Coca-Cola corner. I don't think the Coca-Cola corner is called that anymore, it's just turn 15. On my map, but it's a very short and sweet circuit. I'm sure Julian Kunze will want a couple more bites of the cherry, because I'm sure he can do a lot better than this lap.
Takes a lot of curb. Second half of the lap was pretty good. But it's just a very risky style that he is driving here. Kunze in the black car, of course, runs a bit wide into the gravel on the exit even. And Jaroslav Fonsek behind him beats him immediately, but we see Hasse and Mark Gassner as well, both on the purple sector, and Gassner goes pole. 117.1.
Top 3 rather, sorry, separated by a 10th and a half.
Another good opening lap for Florian Hasse, only P8, 2 seconds down at the moment. Let's see what Guillaume Theo is doing, only driver who hasn't set a lap time yet.
He played it smart, and he's now in no man's land, really, which is perfect for qualifying. Clean track ahead of you, no one pressuring you from behind.
Yeah, no point of drafting either, because the top speed is capped. So...
Yep. I guess you could reach there quicker, but there's not much more to be gained. Around the final corner. And let's see where he lines up. Is Gassner from Honzik, from Kunze, your top three as things stand. And Teot is going to start his first lap, or did he invalidate that lap?
Looks like he's not on a time lap now either. That's curious, but either way, Honzik up to P2 ahead of Kunze. Let's see where Fredriksson is. On a green sector, he's currently in P4. But look how close the times are at the front. Gassner, Honzik and Kunze, super tight lap times.
Fredriksson some 4/10 behind. Looking to improve with this effort, however. The line comes up now, and he remains in P4, but he does close the gap ever so slightly.
There we go, sector times for Teot. Lost quite a bit of time in the first sector already. First sector probably the trickiest one at the Nürburgring. What a gas driver can do here.
NGK chicane. Reversed nicely. Doesn't go as aggressive on the outside. In fact, doesn't even touch the curbing before hitting turn 15. Very different style to Kunze. And I don't necessarily think on this occasion it's a faster style either. Teot slots into P6. Not spectacular.
Lullenberger now in P9, still ahead of Hasse, who hasn't improved his lap time. It's a bit of a surprise.
Don't know what's happened to Hasse at the moment. Over 2 seconds away from pole. Got to be mistake after mistake or lap cuts, I guess. Less than 4 minutes rather of qualifying remaining. Going super quick, and if you're not aware of how RaceRoom qualifying works, then let me fill you in. Once the timer hits 0, that's your lot. There's no finishing the lap that you're on after the timer hits 0. You've got to time your laps to when the timer says, no, that's enough qualifying for one day. So Hasse really needs to get, at the very least, a banker lap in. It's a purple sector 1, so a good start. It's a purple sector 2. It's a brilliant continuation. Could Hasse yet spring to the top of the timesheets from P10?
Let's see. Didn't take quite as much curve as Kunze did in the chicane, but a clean exit here. Will it be pole? Florian Hasse takes the pole position. Wow.
And by some margin.
And he's second in the standings. He's already got 6 points. The pressure is on for Gassner.
Good lap from Hasse. He needed that. Honzik looking good still in P3. Kunze 4th with Fredriksson rounding out your top 5. Disappointing from Teot so far. And for Neg as well, someone who finished 4th in the hot lapping timesheets. He'll be hoping to improve a little bit closer to the top 5 by the session end as well.
And of course, Honzik and Kunze, 2 drivers who've got no points. Sitting up there now. That really might shake up the order. Of course, the reminder, if there's a points tie, then the result from stage 1 will count.
Check out Gassner's sector 2 here. On what will be one of his final efforts. Another green sector, but nothing purple so far yet, Rob. Final corner. Can he improve? Within a 10th, I think to improve to pole would be a stretch.
That's no improvement.
No improvement, no.
I think Kunze is on an improvement either. No, the first sector is very slow already. And it looks unlikely that he can get another lap in afterwards. No one on the purple sector at the moment. But it looks like Florian Hasse is going to surprise. Fredriksson abandons the qualifying session as the first driver. Kunze, the split times aren't fast enough.
He was close to the line, but unfortunately, the timer closes him out from completing another lap. So Kunze at best will be starting P4.
Last sector was good. There was no improvement. Let's see where Gassner is. Bit of time in the first sector, but the last sector wasn't the strongest of Hasse. It was a bit away from the curb in the NGK chicane. So with a good second sector, Gassner could do something. Green sectors for Zanitos as well. Gassner, I don't think he will do it. Let's check with Zanitos where he is. He's further behind. Be the last one that we watched.
Oh, and he's lost it. He's lost it. And so, with plenty returning to the pits, it looks like Gassner is going to be the last person to complete a time. Not that he's going to improve. No, indeed. And so Florian Hasse takes pole position then.
Don't
in
think
stage
Teod is
2.
getting through here. Don't think Somosi is getting through either, so it should be this man here, Florian Hasse. Take the pole position, and he's second in the standing. 6 points for him already. 10 points for Mark Gassner, and these two on the front row, so looks like we have a battle here.
Honzik will be very happy with P3 there, I think. Julian Kunze looking to bounce back from the disappointment of finishing dead last in stage 1. And Fredriksson looking strong for some points again here, matching his finishing position in stage 1 with a P5 in qualifying. That said, you don't win points in qualifying in stage 2, you win points in the race, Rob. And that's what we're heading into now. 10 minutes of action on the GP short circuit.
Yes, indeed. Here are the standings for you, and we've got the top 5 reverse grid race coming up directly afterwards.
Everyone lining up on the grid then. The lights above the drivers will illuminate red, and when they fade to green, we're going to be racing here in stage 2 of the Volkswagen ID.R Challenge Final. Off and away, often racing. Beautiful cars to watch as they come off the line. And immediately Gassner looking under a bit of pressure from Jaroslav Honzik. Hasse leads the field clean.
Oh, Honzik on the outside, and there's someone around!
Multiple people have gone wide.
Oh, there's a huge crash in the background.
4 cars involved in that last crash back there. And I think, is Julian Kunze one of them?
Yeah, he is. He dropped down to the last position. Honzik went off as well. And somehow all of this, Neg is up to P3. And Hasse is attacking Gassner. The whole field has been turned around at the start of the race here. Hasse on the inside against Gassner. Oh, I think Gassner might take the lead around the outside.
Oh, what a
Oh,
move.
this is close.
Oh,
Bullenberger is up to P4.
I know, right? How did that even happen? Well, we saw how it happened. There were 4 cars ahead of him that all decided to go for a party off in the sand and forgot that a race was going on. Disaster start for Teod. Disaster start for Kunze, for Fredriksson as well, down to P8. But at the end of lap 1, it's not a great start for Hasse, but it's a brilliant start for our final leader, Gassner. He leads at the end of lap 1 at the very least. From Hasse, from Neg, from Honzik.
And Honzik went wide into the gravel as well in the first corner. He braked too late. But because of the big accident, it didn't actually cost him that much. And I think Bullenberger actually must have made a mistake. We've got a battle with Fredriksson and Zanitos very close on the braking here, but Fredriksson backing out of it.
And Bullenberger was 4th. He's fallen down to 6th behind Honzik and Shimoshi. And there's a lot of pace to catch up here. For the
People
guys
were
at the
saying
back.
you have to take the black car, but it's all the blue cars in the lead.
It's a bit of spice, isn't it? No team event, of course. They've just been assigned these colours, nothing more. Though I do have a personal aesthetic preference for the blue. Gassner weaving as they head through Ad Van Bogen to try and fend off Hasse. Neg and Honzik both pretty close as well. I think this is going to be one that runs and runs the entirety of the 10 minutes.
And
Yeah,
yeah, behind Zanitos with Kunze in behind him. Kunze going to the inside. Oh, I think Fredriksson got scared off the line here. And Gassner once again with the weaving.
Look at
Check
Honzik
first with
looking.
Honzik.
Breaks late, but Neg gonna sweep around the outside. Good defensive work from the Romanian so far. And Kunze takes that position on Fredriksson.
Yeah, Kunze wants to get up to P5 at least. So he gets the reverse grid pole. We have to stay here with Honzik because Honzik's trying against Nek, but the Romanian is doing everything to hold on. Bit of contact here. Honzik is the blue car on the outside. Oh, and Nek is squeezing him here. Aggressive stuff from Honzik, but also from Nek.
Good battle. But it does look like Honzik has got the better latent speed underneath that hood of his. Of course, everyone running default setups, but Honzik with so much more experience. Neg a little less experienced when it comes to these high-level race room events. And Honzik will be looking to prey on it.
Not going for a daring move on the brakes. But a great exit from Honzik.
Going to launch it up the inside of 15. Yes, he is! He's getting aggressive. He's getting punchy. Is the Croatian. Or is the Czech driver, sorry. Looks like Neg's gotten away with it. I mean, look at these two. They're just flying away into the distance. And Neg goes non-committal. He goes to the end, to the pure middle of the track. And Honzik is going to try and go for the cutback here through turn 1. So close to contact these two again. Brilliant scrap, but they're going to have to be careful. One of them's going to have to come out on top. And I think it is going to be Honzik on the inside now, looking to exit the Mercedes arena in front. Neg! Oh my word, so close to contact. Had to stamp on the brakes. But Honzik's persistency has paid off, and he's into P3.
At the battle behind, Mullenberger was actually attacking Shumoshi here. Of course, they all know what it means. P5 is pole for the next race.
But P6 is at least still scoring points in this race, albeit 1. Could be the difference between securing a prize at the end of today or not.
Of course, the battle for the championship title here is on as well. Gassner would, of course, gain a lot of points here. Once again, just have to check with Kunze and Mullenberger. Oh, there's been an accident. Mullenberger is off the road. And ahead of him, Kunze up to P6. Now Fredriksson side by side with Zanitos.
Must have been contact between Zanitos and Mullenberger from what I'm reading there. 876. Oh my word, again. Riding the curve is Kunze, and a real Constantina effect through turn 1. So Samoshi's been given a bit of breathing room. But someone who's, oh my word, absolutely not having any breathing room whatsoever is Mark Gassner. Hasse is all over his rear wing.
Theod has gone off meanwhile, dropped down to last position. But this is the battle for the win of the entire challenge here. If Gassner wins, he's got a lead of 8 points.
Hasse
wins, they're tied.
Yes, you're true. Very true. I think Hasse's getting really frustrated, Rob, because Gassner is rocking that car all over the place. Very contact moves, and there is contact there. He's asking for it, Rob. He really is. Because look how much he's moving all over the place. And that's not lag either. That is predetermined movements from Gassner. Here comes Hasse. Not for the first time of asking into turn 1. Looking to try and go fully around the outside. Goes off the track. And where's Gassner? There he is on the outside. Honzik still with the inside line. And this might very well be it. Hasse going to steam up the inside. And on exit, oh, Gassner's still there. But Hasse closes the door in his face and says, no, sir, I'm coming through.
That was aggressive, but that was the same style that Gassner used to fight against Hasse. Hasse just showed, if you want to race like this, I can do it better than you. Takes the lead, and if the race finishes like this, they would be tied on points.
Good
and of course, it would be only between these two for the victory here in the championship. Honzik in P3 gaining a lot of times, and Nek once again running in 4th position. So it's looking better and better for Mihai Nek in this competition, because he's still in the run of securing the 3rd place overall.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be on 6 points after this result. And Honzik would only be on 4.
Kunze around the outside of Shumoshi.
Oh, lovely move.
Oh, that's Kunze in P5. Kunze in provisional pole, and Shumoshi almost losing it on the power.
Got to be careful as well, because Xanatos, Fredriksson, they're close behind. That said, there's only 2 minutes left of racing remaining as well. Time running out this lap, and then one more, and that's your lot for stage 2. Oh, braking very late with Xanatos. Looking to scare Shimoshi off the road, perhaps. He overcooks it himself, however. Around the outside will attempt Daniel Fredriksson. No cigar. And taking the lead, Florian Hasser has looked a lot more comfortable than Gasner was in the lead. Still a presence in the rearview mirrors, Rob, but not necessarily closing.
Oh, he just needs to do his laps consistently and not get a slowdown penalty. You can get one if you take too much curb, or if you go over the curb, I should rather say, in the NGK chicane, for example. Final lap.
Nice and clean from Hasser. Doing what he needs to do. Nice result for Honzik.
It's here between Shimoshi, Xanatos and Fredriksson.
Final point on offer here. You never know what could happen. We could have another incident at the beginning of stage 3. Like we had at the beginning of the race here in stage 2. And you could run away with 10 points as winner. It's as easy as that. And that 1 point could make all the difference. But right now, in terms of the top 2 positions, it is looking very hard. Keep our eyes away from these two. Gasner wins stage 1 handily. Over a second faster than anyone else on the Nordschleife. But after securing pole position, after losing the lead in stage 2's race, it's going to be Florian Hasser to round the final corner and take a well-deserved win himself. 10 points go his way, 6 points go the way of Gasner. It is a tie in the championship at 16 points apiece. And Jaroslav Honzik, he moves his way up the championship standings as well after scoring nada in stage 1. He scores 4 points in stage 2, putting himself in a decent position to fight for that 3rd prize, which at the moment is still in the hands of Mihai Neg, who comes home 4th for the 2nd time in consecutive stages. He lies on 6 points and in 3rd overall.
Got confirmation of the race results. Of course, they're provisional. The incident will probably have to be reviewed after the race, but both Hasser and Gasner not involved, so we're into stage 3 now with the top 5 reverse grid race. It goes very quickly now, and now it matters. Now we will determine who is our champion here in this competition. Mihai Neg, he needs a miracle. Actually, he can't win the championship anymore because of his results. So it's only between Gasner and Hasser. One of them will be the champion. Lights are red.
Another 10 minutes are put up on the clock. It's Kunze from pole position. Neg in P2. Off and away at the beginning of stage 3. And immediately it's Kunze going defensive on the inside. Further back, a few players jostling positions. And it's going to be 3 wide in some places into turn 1.
Oh, Honzik wide again.
Nobody knows how to use the brakes on these cars. And Kunze takes the lead.
Gasner is 2nd and Hasser.
And Gasner 2nd.
Oh, he's 3rd, but he's on the outside of Neg, and we've seen how hard Neg can race. Looks like Hasser's gonna lose out here to Neg.
Oh, contact between the two, and that's massive. That's a little bit of contact, and not just a little bit. That's very naughty from Florian Hasser.
It's behind him. Crazy battle with Honzik. Matteo around the outside. They were holding on to the position. Lots of contact here.
Nice cutback from Neg there. Or from Honzik, rather, sorry.
Matteo is really losing out now.
Almost going onto the grass. So another incident-packed first corner there. Xanatos, the big loser. At the end of lap 1, let's take a breather and collect up the order. So it's Kunze from Gazner from Hasse as things stand. Gazner takes the win of the overall final, and Kunze would take third away from both Neg and Honzik, I think.
Yeah, he would indeed with this result.
Just by winning a race. It's important to pick up these wins.
The
That
interesting
said-
story is, of course, Gazner would win the championship. Kunze and Hasse are teammates.
But here, Gazner's not just content with taking home P2 and finishing ahead of Hasse. He wants a win himself. The fate of P3 hanging on the fate of P1 and 2.
It's a mistake as well. But he is faster than Kunze at the moment. Seen how fast Hasse can be in these cars.
Already a big gap being opened up to Jaroslav Honzik in 4th. Reminder, Honzik going into this race on 4 points. Neg on 6. Those two would be scoring 3 points and 2 points respectively. Make that 1 point respectively as Neg loses out to Teo.
Teo driving very aggressively here. Trying to salvage as many points as he can, but he's pushing the limits a lot here. And Neg is now throwing it up the inside of the first corner. Contact
Nice
once
move.
again, but he takes the position. And Daniel Fredriksson sitting right behind him.
The Neg would still be ahead of Honzik as things stand in the standings. Although Teot not going to say no. That's another naughty move from the Monegasque, and he gains a position out of it. Although, well, 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Neg's going to give a little touch, but Teot going to stay in that position. And now Neg's going to lose out as well. So Danny Fredriksson, who senses the opportunity and takes it with both hands.
Yeah, Neg certainly getting beaten up here in the race, and that's a shame. Because he was in a fantastic position in the championship. But I think we have to watch the battle for the lead now, as we're approaching the halfway mark of this race.
Of course, Kunze needs to win this race if he wants to finish in the top 3. And as things stand, he would finish in the top 3. Behind is the more interesting battle, though, I feel. Gazner and Hasse. Whoever finishes on top out of those two is the winner of the overall final. And Hasse is starting to look for moves, Rob. This could give Kunze the reprieve he's been looking for.
Over Florian Hasse now. And this is the battle that decides it all. This is the battle for the win of the challenge. Florian Hasse versus Mark Gazner. Basically, whoever finishes the race ahead of them, they both don't get a penalty for anything. Whoever finishes the race ahead of them will win the Volkswagen ID.R Challenge 2019.
There is still a question mark, I feel, though, Rob, over how Hasse got into 3rd position. Early contact.
Hasse getting a bit of a wiggle there.
I think it's fair to say we'll throw the any calls that we make now are provisional banner over the results of stage 3 at the very least. But on track, there's still some very good racing action still to come. Less than 5 minutes remaining of stage 3. All comes down to this. And Kunze feeling the need to go defensive. Gazner, his answer to defending off Hasse is to get aggressive, to try and overtake Kunze himself. Just see there, Hasse's line, Rob, and the way he's driving this car is so much more comfortably than anyone else I'm looking at right now.
Hans White using all of the track. Now Gazner has to watch out.
It's a small little detail that you'd miss here, this lovely hexagonal pattern that's adorning the inside back panel. of the blue variant of the ID.R. Of course, Hasse going to be looking for every minute detail of where his title rival is going to be making mistakes.
He's running out of time slowly. 3 minutes and 30 seconds only left. Kunze's got quite a bit of a lead now again.
But Gas is,
Hasse.
well, Gas is still picking up slipstream though, Rob. I think that's his big advantage here. He's still close enough to Kunze.
Will stay as they are at the moment. Third place overall of the competition would go to Julian Kunze. Fourth place to Theod, fifth to Mihai Nek, and sixth. No, actually, it is fourth place to Honzik, fifth to Theod, and sixth to Nek.
It's a shame to see Neg out of the points.
Oh, that's
Ducking
another
out
mistake
instead.
from Hasse here. That's the bigger one.
And look how much time Gasner has gained out of it. The last thing that Hasse wanted was a mistake. Gasner just keeping things clean. Penultimate lap.
Jan Kunze, this will be redemption for him after such a bad start to the event. Then, once again, been turned around in the first corner of the first race. Was looking good, but behind him, it's the battle. And Gasner has to defend late. This will compromise his exit probably for the first corner.
Alright to me.
Once
Once again. Yeah.
Whoever finishes ahead of these two, if there are no penalties, whoever finishes ahead of these two will win the Volkswagen ID.R challenge. So if there was ever a move that was important, now is the time for Florian Hasse.
Shout out to Honzik there in P4, just driving two beautiful races really. Not much more that he could have done. Oh, and Hasse getting super close there through the Bornsteiner curve.
Gasner has lost the slipstream of Julian Kunze.
And that means that Hasse may have one or two seriously good opportunities. He goes to the outside of the NGK chicane. There is contact between the two. As Gasner looks to stop the advancing compatriot behind him. He has to step on the brakes a little bit as they head through turn 15. Final lap. Can Gasner hold on to P2? Or is Hasse too rampant? To the outside. Looking to go all the way around the outside of turn 1. And look, going deep goes Gasner. Goes off the circuit to try and help defend his position. Contact again between the two as Hasse goes wide through the Mercedes arena. Looking to sweep his way all the way around the outside here of turn number 3. But again, through turn number 4, it's Gasner ahead. Another opportunity coming up, turn 5, and Hasse, no way through. Has to go to the outside once again. It's going to be the NGK chicane and or turn 15 for the decider in what has been an enthralling Volkswagen ID.R challenge final. And that, I tell you what, that exit off turn, what is traditionally turn 11, Rob, might just have won him the title. Oh, Hasse brakes way too late. Goes straight into the back of Gasner, and this might allow Honzik a look in. Look at it. Look at it. Honzik has taken third from Hasse. I think that might have been a slowdown penalty. Kunze takes first. And it's going to be Gasner then who takes the final. He is the champion. Honzik third on the road. But I don't think Honzik has done enough to take third away overall in the standings from Kunze with those 10 points on the board.
Here we've got Mark Gasner on your screen. Of course the results are provisional, but these points are going to be enough for Mark Gasner to be provisionally crowned the champion here. We've got confirmation of the race results coming up very quickly because it's just 10 cars in the race. Kunze wins the race ahead of Gasner and Honzik, and Hasse tried everything that he could But it was maybe a little bit too much at the end. Getting into the back of Gassner. Here we've got the results. So Gassner first in the championship, ahead of Hasse, and Kunze in behind.
Honzik would score 4 points, which would put him up to 8, which wouldn't be enough to overturn Kunze. I don't think there's much that Gassner did wrong there, Rob, honestly. And, well, I don't think he was either of our picks, really, for taking the win overall, but fair play to him. He showed up in stage 1 and continued that momentum forward beautifully. He's won only one of the stages, but he was consistent in the other 2, and that's what brought him the win.
And what a battle it was. I mean, you could feel the tension. You could feel how he wanted to get past there, how he tried really everything that he could. And it just wasn't enough in the end. And it was just a race between these two for the whole event. In the hot lap session already, Gassner with such a fantastic lap. Then we had, of course, Florian Hasse with this really aggressive move in the first race already. Just getting back past Mark Gassner there. Then, of course, Julian Kunze played it fair the whole time. Won the race fair and square, and Florian Hasse had to do it on his own. Had to try to get past Mark Gassner. Try to somehow make it work. Wasn't quite enough in the end.
I would like to give a shout out actually to Mihai Neg there. I think he very much was impressive throughout the entirety. Unlucky in race 3. And it was good to see him battling away with such an experienced head such as Jaroslav Honzik. Ultimately, Kunze, that reverse grid pole position really aided him, didn't it? He needed to win that race in order to secure 3rd position in the final rather overall. But Honzik, experienced head, did himself proud in those 2 races after a disappointing stage 1. Neg had a really good stage 1 and was more unlucky than not in the 2 races.
Yeah, Neg was really kind of unlucky indeed at the end of the race, especially with the incident in race 2. I think he was actually kind of lucky in the first race. It was a big incident, and of course all these results are still provisional, so keep that in mind. Here are the updated provisional standings. And so Mark Gassner for Williams Gym Esports takes the crown ahead of the Euronics Gaming duo, Florian Hasse and Julian Kunze.
Oh, lovely stuff. Well, thank you all so much for watching. That was a delightful couple of hours of racing action. And what a great celebration of one of the benchmark electric vehicles of the modern age, Rob. Volkswagen can be very proud of themselves for what they've created. And I would very much love to see more of this. Championship when, please?
We'll see. I think a lot of people are asking, of course, for the release of this car in the RaceRoom store. As always, the answer is soon. Like everything. So we never really know what's going to bring the future. But what I know for certain is that you should keep an eye out for the RaceRoom social media channels. In approximately just over 1 hour, we will announce the official results. There's a very short stewarding deadline in this event, so we'll announce the official results. But what an event it was! What a different event to the other ones, especially with the hot laps stage beginning.
I'm all for a bit of new formats. It's always exciting to see, and we hope that you all enjoyed it at home as well. Be sure to follow at RaceRoom over on Twitter to make sure that you get the official word through on who is confirmed the winner. I'd be surprised if it's not Gassner. As I say, I don't think he did much wrong. So just for the official word, be sure to keep an eye out on the Twitter. And also be sure to follow our friends over at Volkswagen on their various social media channels. Great working with them. I sincerely hope that we work together again. As I say, championship when, please. All is to thank, I guess. All that's left to thank, I guess, is you at home. Thank you all so much for watching. We have great fun doing these events, as always, Rob and myself. And we hope to check in with you again soon, whenever that is. Any final thoughts, Rob?
No, nothing to add here. It was a great event. It's the end of the online races of the RaceRoom esports season. We've got 2 live events coming up, so make sure to watch them as well. One of them in Malaysia, one of them in Sweden. Should be pretty cool and pretty international once again. And I would like to thank you all for watching. I would like to thank everyone who helped. And that's it from my side. Goodbye.
Lovely. And from myself, James Kirk, have a very lovely evening. Take care.